In 2020, there were a total of 18 HDB resale flats that were being sold for more than $1 million. However, most of them are located in central locations. Bigger in sizes tend to be special developments like mansionettes and DBSS flats. And more importantly, they only made up 0.3% of HDB flat transactions. Because of this, analysts call them outliers. But fast forward to just 4 years later, with the percentage of million-dollar flat transactions increasing to 3.9% as of July 2024, these outliers are starting to look a little less outlierish. Not just that, even BTOs, which are supposed to be heavily subsidized flats, are now costing as much as $779,000 in the latest BTO exercise in June. So, given that all these flats will eventually be worth zero after 99 years, is it still wise to dump hundreds of thousands of dollars
or even millions of dollars
into these flats? And that's what we are going to be discussing in this video. But before I start, do join my 10,000 members Telegram chat group to discuss or ask any questions that you might have. While it's easy to look at all these ever-climbing HDB prices and blame the government for this, the question is, if the mission of HDB is to provide affordable housing, why did the government even allow HDB prices to go up in the first place? This was answered in a speech made by the late PMD back in 2009, where he mentioned that if all the HDB flats were all built as rental flats, Singapore would have been a very different society today. That's why in the 1980s, the government moved towards a market-based system where each HDB flat is priced differently to reflect its real value. For example, a new flat in Tanjong Pagar could cost more as compared to a new flat in Punggol due to the difference in demand. And as long as Singapore continues to develop and grow, the flats will continue to appreciate in price. This allows HDB homeowners to share the fruits of the nation's growth. So in a way, the HDB story reflects the social mobility in Singapore, where if you give HDB homeowners the ability to own their flats, they will work hard and upgrade to better flats for a better quality of living. And indeed, we can see this coming into play, where back in 2013, 82% of homeowners live in HDBs and 12% live in condos. But by 2023, the percentage of HDB homeowners had decreased, while the percentage of condo homeowners had increased. But as a result of this, we now end up in an interesting situation where on one hand, the government calls HDB a valuable nest egg for retirement, and on the other hand, you shouldn't think of HDB flats as a nest egg for retirements. So I think there are two issues to address here. One, HDB prices are becoming more and more unaffordable. And two, HDB prices will eventually depreciate to zero. Let's first start with HDBs becoming more and more unaffordable. The easiest way to determine whether HDB is unaffordable or not is to look at something called the price to income ratio, where if the median housing price rises together with the median annual income, we can say that housing is still affordable. By the way, I didn't come up with this myself, yeah. This is the official method to measure home affordability. Anyway, as it turns out, back in 2014, the price to income ratio was 4.8. Then, as the cooling measures kicked in, this price to income ratio dropped to below 4. But then, due to the effects of the pandemic, this ratio went back up to 5 before settling back down at 4.8 again. So essentially, while housing is less affordable as compared to the past few years, it is still as affordable as 10 years ago. In fact, according to a recent study done by the Urban Land Institute, it was found that Singapore's price-to-income ratio is cheaper than almost every other big city, like Sydney, Beijing, Hong Kong, Kuala Lumpur, Seoul, and so on, with only one exception, and that is Perth Apartments, which has the lowest price-to-income ratio. Or, to put this into perspective, in order to be able to afford a 4-room HDB that's transacting at a median price of $631,000, Stat Homes calculated that you will need a household income of just $7,640. Take note, this is household income, so it combines both incomes from the couple. And on top of that, this takes into account a rather generous $60,000 renovation cost. 8 in 10 first-timer families who bought resale flats in 2023 use 25% or less of their monthly household income to service their HDB housing loan. So as you might imagine, the problem isn't so much about the monthly mortgage, but rather it's coming out with $106,000 for the down payment and renovation costs, which can be a large amount for some couples. But I guess this issue can be solved relatively easily either by you saving as much money as possible before you buy your house, or cutting down on your renovation works, or just buying a house that you can actually afford. As we are nearing the US election date, there will be a lot of volatility going ahead. That's why it's important to use one of the lowest cost brokers in Singapore to trade. And for that, you can check out Webull. For the US market, during regular and extended hours, they are just charging a low fee of 0.025% with a minimum of 50 cents. And for overnight hours, they are charging 0.03% of the total trade amount with a minimum of 89 cents. For the SGS market, commission is 0.025% of the total trade amount with a minimum of 80 cents. And the platform fees is 0.025% of the total trade amount with a minimum of HDB 80 cents. New users will get to enjoy commission-free trades for US stock trading for 1 month and commission-free trades for Singapore stock trading for 3 years. Right now, both new and existing users will also get to enjoy US options free commissions if you trade a minimum of 100 options contracts this month. For new users who use my exclusive link to sign up to Webull, if you fund your account, trade and fulfill the respective criteria, you'll be eligible to get up to $400 cash vouchers and up to 7% per annum yield for the USD Money Bull for up to 90 days. When you fund a cap of $100,000, potentially earning a yield of $1,750. Or if you are an existing user who has not transferred any shares into Webull before, you can also take part in the Transfer In promo, where you can get up to $1,500 trading vouchers when you fulfill the requirements. So if you are interested, do sign up to Webull using my link down below. And let's get back to the video. But then, what about the problem of HDB prices going to zero? A few $100,000 going to zero is no joke leh. I can't speak for others, but personally, I'm not that concerned with this, even though I'm also living in an HDB flat. Here's why. 1. Older HDB flats do not depreciate in value as quickly as you may think, because mature estates tend to have more amenities while also appealing to different buyer demographics, such as seniors and retirees who are just looking for a home for retirement rather than a home for investment. 2. We have the flexibility to upgrade our homes whenever we want. Don't like HDB? Upgrade to condo lah. Though, I have to admit that this is not for everyone, since the price gap between HDBs and condos is constantly increasing, which may result in less and less HDB homeowners upgrading to condos. 3. Even if my HDB eventually depreciates to zero, it is still fine, as there are still a few more ways that I can use to further squeeze out a bit more value from it before it goes to zero. For example, I can apply for the lease buyback scheme, where I can sell away at least 20 years of my lease back to HDB and receive additional cash bonus of up to $30,000. Otherwise, there's also the Silver Housing Bonus Scheme, where I can downgrade to a 3-room flat or smaller to get up to $30,000 cash bonus. If not, I can also choose to downgrade via the 2-room Flexi Flat Scheme to unlock some of my existing property value. But then, here's a question. Why can't we just peg HDB prices to the average household income instead, so that instead of allowing its prices to skyrocket, we can still make sure that the average Singaporean can still afford it? Well, as it turns out, the government is in fact keeping HDB BTO prices in line with the annual household income by increasing subsidies. For example, recently, they just increased the enhanced CPF housing grant amount even further, bringing the total grants for new flats from $80,000 to $120,000. As a result, most first-time BTO flat buyers were found to be using at most 25% of their monthly income to pay for the monthly mortgage. This also means that they can service their HDB loans while only using their CPF money, or while requiring little to no cash outlay. Okay, that's only for BTO, right? What about HDB resale prices? Why can't we just peg HDB prices to annual income? Or even better, put a cap on HDB prices? This goes back to the original goal of HDB flats, where the government actually wants HDB flats to appreciate in prices, as it gives HDB homeowners a tangible and valuable stake in which they can share the growth with as the country prospers. And even if the government were to directly control property prices, this would be bad for the average Singaporeans, since the average Singaporeans have most of their wealth locked up in their properties, whereas the wealthier Singaporeans would be largely unaffected, thereby causing the wealth inequality to widen. Now, even though the government doesn't directly control the prices of resale HDB, they still do so indirectly via cooling measures. For example, the Prime Location Housing Scheme, where it says that for prime districts, the MOP will be increased from 5 years to 10 years. The entire unit is not allowed to be rented out at all, and if you do decide to sell away the flats, part of the profits will have to be returned back to the government. Besides that, they also recently further lowered the loan to value limit for HDB loans from 80% down to 75%, thereby reducing the maximum amount of loan that you can borrow. So with all that's being said, how should we think about HDB then? As someone asked on my channel, is HDB considered a property investment or not? I think it can be both, where on one hand, it's a home that is affordable to most Singaporeans. Yes, despite all that crazy HDB prices that we have seen recently. On the other hand, it can also be an investment, since HDBs can go up in value, thus allowing you to upgrade to a condo or unlock your HDB value during your retirement. But as the woke salaryman puts it, when it comes to HDB, we should focus on buying the most affordable home that we can, rather than trying to buy the most expensive HDB that we can afford. That's because there are many more things that we can do with our money, such as achieving financial independence and retiring early, starting a business, or whatever that makes you happy. By sinking all our cash into buying a super big and expensive home, we might end up becoming asset rich but cash poor, and will be forced to continue working for the rest of our lives in order to pay for our loans. In fact, this whole idea of properties being a safe investment and a valuable nest egg for retirement, personally, I'm a little wary of that. That's because with HDB building more and more flats now, and with Singapore being an aging population, we might just see an oversupply of HDB flats, which means prices might not go up forever as we might think. So rather than sinking almost 100% of your net worth into a property and pray that it goes up forever, it's probably better to diversify your investments elsewhere, such as a broad-based market index fund or even CPF. That way, even if one thing goes wrong, you have other backup plans. Anyway, that's all for this video. Hopefully, you found it useful. Like, share and subscribe, as I'll be posting new videos every Monday, Wednesday and Friday.